Hey guys, what's going on? Back with another video. How's everybody doing? Now we're back with the divisional round picks. These divisional playoff weekend in the NFL. Is really some surprises coming out of the wild card round. Bad week to be betting on the favorites. Bad week to be betting on the favorites. If you took the underdogs, I'm pretty sure I think the underdogs won in every game except for one. I mean, let me check. Let's see. We had 4 games. Patriots, Saints, massive upset. There. I mean, the Seahawks, not really. And then the Texans-Bills game was it's crazy. I mean, the Bills looked like they were going to come down for the upset as well, but, couldn't quite, close it out there at the end. But, I mean, unbelievable wild card round. And, that's almost more exciting. It's more interesting than these games almost. But we'll just kind of go through. I mean, there's only 4 games, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday in this divisional round, and we'll, get started talking about them. I mean, first, just to recap the wild card round real quick. I mean, the 2 major stories, perhaps one a little bit more major than the other. I mean, because I'm pretty sure the Saints losing to the Vikings and choking in the first round of the playoffs is not really a surprise. It's like the 3rd year in a row now. I mean, it's like you can really only complain about the referees so much. I mean, 3 years in a row, that's kind of it's kind of hard to be making excuses there. But really the major story here, New England Patriots losing on Wild Card Weekend to the Tennessee Titans. I'm willing to say that is I can't say that's the worst playoff. I mean, no, that's not true. But yikes, man. That's the first time the Patriots have played on Wild Card Weekend in 10 years, okay? It's the first time they played on Wild Card Weekend in 10 years. It's the first time they've lost on Wild Card Weekend in 10 years. A matter of fact, I think that might be only the second time the Patriots have ever had to play on Wild Card Weekend. I mean, there's probably a year or 2 in there that I'm forgetting about. But up until this point, the Patriots had played in the AFC Championship game, I think, 8 straight times or 9 straight, something crazy like that. I believe, just to recap, 2001 is obviously when the whole thing started. The Patriots won the Super Bowl. 2002 was just a bad year. I don't even think they made the playoffs, so it's kind of like an outlier. And then pretty much every year from then till 2008, they either went to the Super Bowl, or won the Super Bowl, went to it, or at least got to the AFC Championship game. 2008, Tom Brady tears his ACL. They misses the season. They had to get Matt Castle in there, and I think because the AFC, I think the Dolphins were good that year. It was one of those odd years they didn't make the playoffs. 2009, again, do you have to go back to 2009 to find the last time anything close to this happened? They play on Wild Card Weekend. They didn't have a particularly strong team that year. It was after Brady came back from his ACL injury. And everything, and so they lose on Wild Card Weekend, not to the friggin' Tennessee Titans, but to the legit, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Baltimore blowout beatdown Ravens. Okay, I mean that is the peak of the Ravens was 2012 when they won the Super Bowl. But anyways, you look at this and it's it's unprecedented. Tom Brady's a free agent. I mean these are uncharted waters here, and so you look at this and it's okay, first time in 10 years that this has happened. Not only that, but it's not like the team was bad and they were 10-6 like they were in 2009, and you had a really good team like the Ravens came in. No. You were 12-4, won your division, choked to the Miami Dolphins in Week 17, and then lost a 14. I mean, what did they lose? But it was 14-13, or I mean, I know at the end in garbage time, I think the Titans had a pick 6 or something like that. But I mean, basically, you lost a 14-13 game at home to the Titans after you were 12-4 with one of the best defenses in a long time, and the whole thing was set up, and you were playing there because of the fact that you lost to the Miami Dolphins at home in Week 17 against Ryan Fitzpatrick. Woof! That is, you have to suck for that to happen. I mean, that is that's why it hasn't happened in that's why that never happens. How bad is your offense that happened? I mean, just to recap the game real quick. I've kind of been talking about the scenario here. The game itself was kind of unremarkable. Basically, Derrick Henry just ran over everybody. Eventually, the Patriots, figured out that, okay, this is what they're doing. They're just running Derrick Henry to chew the clock and everything. And they stopped Derrick Henry. Completely stopped him, but they basically kind of took him out of the game. made him pretty ineffective later on, except it didn't matter because the Patriots could not do jack on offense. Like, they came out in the first half doing pretty well. And then in the second half, they couldn't do anything. I mean, they had, just terrible, like really no receivers. You had Julian Edelman, who, it's been found out was playing with like a torn AC joint and a knee and an ankle. And I mean, the guy was like held together by like tape and string. And then they're basically, no Gronk. He retired before the season. And outside of him, they really had nobody that could get open. Just no in. The offensive line really couldn't set up the run. Didn't really. Just the offense flat out sucked. And I mean, the Titans were able to do what they did and just hand the ball off the whole game because it didn't matter. Because the Patriots, if they got the ball, couldn't really do anything with it. So why not chew the clock and get out of there? And that's what they did. So it's just a complete embarrassment to lose that. I mean, that is for them. And then again, they're probably gonna go undefeated and win the Super Bowl next year because this is what they always do, right? It's always, I saw this meme where it was like the Patriots have this curse of odd number years, like they can never win in odd number years. When you actually think about it, other than 2001 and 2003, they've never won anything in an odd numbered year. If you actually go through, and I think it's not just like a coincidence. I think there's a reason for this. Like 2014, they won the Super Bowl. 2015, they didn't make it. 2016, they won the Super Bowl. 2017, they lost. 2018, they won the Super Bowl. 2019, they fizzle out in Wild Card Weekend. I think it has to do with the fact you win and you get a little bit complacent. You think, okay, well, we just won with this team, so we really don't need to do anything differently. And then you kind of a couple guys leave, some guys get injured, so on and so forth. You don't have this strong impetus to rebuild and reload and work really hard the next season because you're like, all right, well, we're pretty good. And, meanwhile, other teams that, kind of came up short the last year were rebuilding and restocking and retooling and, getting better, and you're not. And so, you look at it, and it's like, it's just kind of one of those ebbs and flows, you know what I mean? You're great one year, and then, you kind of take your foot off the gas the next year. You're not, you lose, you're like, all right, well, we have to improve the following year, and you get better. And I think that's kind of what happened with them. They won in 2018 with a pretty bad team. They just, defense, run game, and kind of lucked out getting the Rams in the Super Bowl, who clearly, from a coaching perspective, could not match wits with Bill Belichick. I feel like if they got the Saints in that game, they probably would have gotten blown away. And so then this year, they got Antonio Brown, they got Demaryius Thomas, they got, all these guys at the beginning of the year Antonio Brown, everybody knows what happened to him. The guy's crazy, had to cut him. They didn't have to, but they did. They traded Demaryius Thomas the week before because they thought, well, we don't need him because we got Antonio Brown, and then Josh Gordon, gets on the weed, as Stephen A. Smith would say, and he's got to get shipped up. By the end of the year, you've got nothing, all right? And just really what a terrible way for things to go for them. Nobody feels bad for them just because they win the Super Bowl every friggin' year. But nonetheless, they'll just come win the Super Bowl next year. This is kind of the pattern now. You win one, they lose one, and it kind of seems like that's that's the pattern here. So, anyways, there you go. So, and then the other shocker was not really. It's been 3 years in a row where the same things happen now, so it's really not much of a shocker. But the New Orleans Saints losing to the Vikings at home. How do you lose to them? You're up there favored by what, 14 or some. Early in the game, it's pretty clear. All right, well, the Vikings defense kind of has the Saints team figured out here, and it's like, okay, you had the Minnesota Miracle 2 years ago. You got screwed by the refs last year, and you complain about that. And then this year, this happened. After a while, you kind of have to, you look yourself in the mirror and think, okay, well, you know what, this team just chokes in the playoffs every single year. And now I'm convinced, the refs, that was bad last year, but they still, the Rams still only were able to tie the game, and it went to overtime, and the Saints had the ball, and Drew Brees threw a pick. The year before, the game came down to one play, and then, this year you lost to the friggin' Viking. After a while, you just look at it and say, you know what, they just choke in the playoffs. They're just not ready to go, and teams come in here and they eat their lunch. So, I want to say it's shocking just because, nobody expected that, but given, the history here, it really isn't that shocking. So Saints, choking on, first round of the playoffs at home to the Vikings, so there you go. So anyways, then of course you had the Seahawks who, dirty hit on Carson Wentz, knocks them out of the game. Seahawks win, and there you go. And then the only other game was the Bills. First game of Wild Card Week was, of course, the Bills and the Texans, which was a really entertaining game. I mean, the Bills, I got to give the Bills a lot of credit. They're playing a team that's probably better than them, that has a better quarterback and better weapons and better a lot of things. Probably not as good of a defense. I'd say as good of a coach. I mean, I like Sean McDermott. I think that Bill O'Brien's a little bit of a kind of a tool, a little bit, but went in there and they almost won the thing. It went down to the end, and all of a sudden Josh Allen's making these crazy throws, and it was pretty impressive, pretty darn impressive there. That they were able to give them such a game and almost won the thing. It was a really compelling back and forth game. So overall, all around pretty good wild card weekend. So anyways, getting to the divisional round here, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the San Francisco 49ers Saturday afternoon. Here's the thing. If the Vikings were able to do to the Saints what they did to the Saints in New Orleans, which is a much tougher place to play than San Francisco, there's no reason to think that they can't go do it to the 49ers. Like, why, you go in there, tough. Hell, the Saints have just as many, if not more, weapons than the 49ers do. I got the... I want to give the Vikings this game. I feel like there is kind of that choking thing, the choking gene, if you will, that the Saints have that I'm not sure the 49ers do. But then again, this is the first time the 49ers have been tested in a playoff game like this. This is really their first go-around here. They had a bye week last week, and here they are. You know what? I got Minnesota winning this game. I got Minnesota. Well, yeah. You know what? Give me Minnesota. I got Minnesota winning this game. I just feel like if they can do what they did to the Saints, I don't think there's a reason why they can't do it to the 49ers. Like, I'm not saying the 49ers aren't as good, but you saw that Saints 49ers game. That thing was, they could have played it 10 times and each team would have won 5 times. Those teams, they were so closely matched, and it was such a back and forth game that I feel like, all the weapons the Saints have, it's not like they have, any more or less weapons than the 49ers do, and it's not like Jimmy Garoppolo is any better of a quarterback than Drew Brees is. So, I feel like if they can do it in New Orleans to the Saints, they can do it in San Francisco to the 49ers. I got Minnesota winning this game. Again, there's not as much to talk about here because these teams didn't play last weekend, so there's not a ton other than that to get into. I just think that's what it's going to come down to. I got Minnesota winning this game. Next game up, Tennessee Titans at the Baltimore. Jeez. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, this is really. I gotta look up how many points are the Ravens favored by in this game. Let's see, NFL odds. No, I don't want this website. I want I want Vegas Insider. All right, so the 49ers are favored by 10 points. That's a little light for playing the Titans. Here's what I got. I got Tennessee going in. Tennessee was a team that could beat New England because all you had to do to beat New England was run the ball and just play press man coverage. That's basically it. That's all you had to do. This this Ravens team is Lamar is going to be running all over everybody, throwing the ball over the yard. Tennessee's got an okay defense. It's not like the best defense. It's all right. And again, friggin' Ryan Tannehill, really trust him to be dropping back? If the Ravens come out, go up 17-0, and they're 14-0, the game's over because then Tannehill's going to drop back to pass, and just it doesn't work, and they've got the Ravens winning this game. It's basically going to come down to a Kansas City Baltimore AFC Championship game, and I guess we'll get into that next weekend when the time comes. But it's. If it does come down to that, I'm going to have Kansas City beating Baltimore in that game, just because I feel like Baltimore can be beat. I feel like Baltimore is used to okay, we're up by 20 and Lamar's running and all over everybody, juking, the whole defense, and you got, the defense is, Baltimore defense is just kind of out there, just kind of doing their thing, and Lamar's running all over everybody, and we're up huge, and just it's like. If you make them play from behind and make Lamar have to stand in the pocket and throw and come down the field, then, they can't just be doing these, tight design plays, rolling out the tight end and, bootleg, throwing in the flat and make them, throw, some balls with some touch on them, 20, 25 yards down the field and do that a lot, for a quarter or two. then that's a different game. It's just Tennessee does not have what it takes to make Baltimore have to do that. Kansas City does, so we'll talk about that then. But as far as this game goes, yeah, I mean, I got Baltimore winning the game. I mean, if Tennessee was a little better, then I'd give it to Tennessee, but no. It's Baltimore. No, it's not going to happen. But I feel like, Tennessee will land some blows on them, though. They'll make it a little bit tough, but ultimately, the 49ers just, I don't want to keep mixing them up. The Ravens have too much firepower for this one. Next game, Texans and Chiefs, Sunday afternoon, 3:05 p.m. Eastern time. So the Houston Texans, like I was saying, that game against the Bills, I really feel like the Texans underachieved. I feel like, Deshaun Watson's much better than Josh Allen. Better weapons, better team. And they almost lost on several occasions and barely won at the end of the game. You're going into Kansas City, who, we know has a great offense. We know, I'd say that, I don't think that, Pat Mahomes is as good as he was last year. I think he got banged up this year, obviously, and so he's a little bit more hesitant this year. So, I mean, he's not going to be the same. I feel like the offense is probably just as good, but I mean, you're not going to see him running as much. I mean, he's not Lamar, let's put it that way. I mean, I feel like Mahomes is a better passer than Lamar, but Lamar is better with his feet. It's kind of one of those things. So, anyways, I look at this one here, and I just feel like Kansas City's got too much firepower, man. They got too much firepower, and I don't think that Houston has the defense and can pound the ball and kind of do what New England did to them last year in the AFC Championship. I don't think that Houston is going to be able to do that here. So I have Kansas City winning the game. And if you barely beat the Bills, then you're not beating Kansas City. Last game up, the Seattle Seahawks at the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers are a team that, given everything that's been going on, nobody's been talking about the Packers. I feel like the Green Bay went all the way through this year as what, like the 2 seed, I think? I think they're the 2 seed, I'm pretty sure. Went all the way through this year, in their 2 seed, and they're playing at home in the divisional round with the bye and everything. And nobody's really talked about them. Nobody's talked about this. We were talking about the Ravens and the Saints and the Chiefs, and nobody's really talked about this Packers team. It's just not. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's because it's more interesting to talk about the Saints choking and Tom Brady's future, and and the Ravens and the Chiefs, and and all that, than to just talk about. Talk about the Packers and the Cheeseheads and all that. But here they are, 2 seed in the NFC. Playing at home, divisional round, first round bye. Here they are. Good chance to go to the Super Bowl here. So, Seattle going in. First of all, you have to talk about Seattle's injury. Seattle is a friggin' mash unit, very very injured team. I mean, probably not as much as the Eagles, but Marshawn Lynch is serviceable. He's not what they had necessarily with the guys who got injured, but he's clearly he's not like 2013, 2014 Marshawn Lynch, but he's still he can get the job done. He can spin and do all those things that you need a running back to do. And Russell Wilson's playing out of his mind, and they got good receivers, and it's a legit team. But now you had to travel to Philly, East Coast. Now you're going to Midwest, Green Bay, and home and back and there and back, and all of that, and playing on the wild card, getting injured week 16, getting injured week 17, playing on wild card weekend, that takes a toll on the team. You're going into Green Bay, which again, I mean, you have to recall the great Packers Seahawks playoffs games of years past, and the Hail Marys and everything, and you kind of have all that nostalgia, if you will, going into this game. But it's tough because I feel like the Packers have, it's not that they haven't been tested, but they didn't play last week. They're playing at home this week. They had you just kind of go back and kind of look at their season here, and you look at kind of the close games that they had. You go all the way back to the beginning of the year. They beat the Bears, and they beat the Vikings, and they beat the Broncos, and they lost the Eagles. They beat the Cowboys, they beat the Lions, beat the Raiders, beat the Chiefs. That's legit. Except I'm not sure if Pat Mahomes was out that week or not. But what was this, end of October? So I'm not 100% sure on that. But they lost to the Chargers, they beat the Panthers, they blown out by the 49ers, beat the Giants, beat the Redskins, beat the Bears, beat the Vikings, beat the it's not really any impressive wins there. I didn't see beating the Ravens or beating beating the 49ers, or you lost to them. You didn't beat Seattle. I don't. Did they even play? Let me see if they even played Seattle here. Let me just check 1 sec. I don't believe they did. But, anyway, so it's like, if they've really been tested that much, in separate and apart from that, aside from, Aaron Rodgers throwing Hail Marys at the end of these games, like, I don't know, like, can they win a shootout? I'm not sure. I feel like Seattle is a team of destiny this year. I feel like this Super Bowl, I'm going to call it right now. I got Chiefs Seahawks is what I've got. I feel like this Seahawks team has been so resilient the whole year. Russell Wilson, if not for Lamar, has been playing out of his mind. I feel like he would have been an MVP candidate. I got the Seahawks in this game because of the fact that I feel like Packers have just kind of scooted by the whole year. They've played well, but they haven't had a deal. I mean, when they've been faced with adversity, the 49ers or whatever, they lost. And outside of that, not a super tough schedule. You got the first round of the playoffs off. Like, they haven't really demonstrated that time and again they're able to, fight back and, come from behind and do those things you need to do to be a great, resilient playoff team. And Seattle has time and time again. And I've got Seattle winning this game. All right, guys, I was going to do my divisional round picks. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. So just a recap here, I've got Minnesota, Baltimore, KC, and Seattle. So other than that, until next week when we're back with the conference championship picks, that'll do for this one, guys. Thanks for watching.